has yet to confirm any investigation into Clinton exists, but today left open the possibility that one could begin at any time.
We will make such decisions without regard, hear me, without regard to politics, ideology, or bias.
That could bring with it a whole host of new issues for the Attorney General, who is already struggling to regain the trust of President Trump. Before he left on his trip to Asia, the president tweeting a not-so-subtle warning to Sessions and his team not to ignore his concerns about Clinton, writing, quote, "Everybody is asking why the Justice Department and FBI isn't looking into all the dishonesty going on with crooked Hillary and the Dems." The Department of Justice is supposed to operate independently from the White House on law enforcement matters, and Democrats warned that a new probe into the president's primary political opponent would show the administration is too involved in DOJ business.
In a functioning democracy, is it common for the leader of the country to order the criminal justice system to retaliate against his political opponents?
Mr. Conyers, I would say that it's the Department of Justice can never be used to retaliate politically against opponents, and that would be wrong.
And it also raises questions about the specific role Sessions himself will play. During his confirmation hearing in January, Sessions said this.
To be very clear, you intend to recuse yourself from both the Clinton email investigation and any matters involving the Clinton Foundation, if there are any?
Yes.
A promise he was asked to reiterate today.
Do you stand by that statement, yes or no?
Yes.
Even entertaining the notion of a Clinton investigation brings up the possibility that its purpose would be to provide the Trump administration with a political distraction, one that could potentially take the focus off the special counsel probe into Russia's influence on the U.S. election. In part because of this promise made by President Trump during the campaign.
If I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation.
A point Democrats used to press Sessions on, but he resisted.
It's a promise that your boss, he hired you to fulfill. Are you going to fulfill?
We will comply with the law with regard to special prosecutor appointments.
And he vowed to protect the Department of Justice's integrity.
We will not be infected by politics or bias. We will make only decisions we believe are right and just, and we're not going to use the department to unlawfully advance a political agenda.
And one promise that should please Republicans today, Sessions said that he plans to root out the leaks coming out of the administration. He described the leaks as reaching epidemic proportions. And Wolf's, he claimed that at one point there are 27 open investigations into leaks by the Justice Department.
Ryan Noble's reporting for us. Thanks, Ryan, for that report. Joining us now, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, Democratic Congressman David Cicilline of Rhode Island. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I want to play an exchange from your questioning of the Attorney General Jeff Sessions earlier today. Listen to this.
Now returning to the Papadopoulos issue. In your October 18th testimony, you purport to have forgotten this conversation about by Mr. Papadopoulos about Russia that you put an end to. You said you weren't being dishonest, you weren't making a false statement, you simply forgot it. Remember that testimony?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
When did you remember the remarks of Mr. Papadopoulos? When did that memory come back to you?
I think it was when the press came up with it, or it was revealed in the press.
That was the first time you remembered it?
Just I would recall that my October statements was a broad question.
No, I understand. Mr. Sessions, I have a limit. I'm reclaiming my time. You were a senior, Mr. Sessions, you were a senior campaign official and a member of the National Security Team. Did you ever exchange any email, text message, or any other communication to or from Mr. Papadopoulos about Russia or any other subject?
Repeat the category, the list of things?
Exchange any email, text message, or any communication to or from Mr. Papadopoulos about any subject?
I do not believe so. I'm confident. I did not.
Did anybody ever forward to you a communication from Mr. Papadopoulos?
I don't recall it.
Did anybody from the campaign ever communicate with you about Mr. Papadopoulos?
I can't say that there were no conversations about him before or after this event.
All right, Congressman, were you satisfied with the Attorney General's answers on Papadopoulos?
No. Well, throughout the hearing, the Attorney General has said on many, many occasions, I just don't recall. He said his testimony remained the same, but of course he gave very different testimony to the Senate committee. And then he refused to answer questions as we probe more about the Comey firing and about Mr. Papadopoulos, saying those involve conversations with the executive branch, and I don't want to answer them, or I can't answer them. I pressed the chairman. He wasn't invoking a Fifth Amendment privilege. He wasn't invoking an executive privilege. He simply was saying, I don't want to answer the question, either because it was embarrassing or would have revealed some damaging information. There's no such ability to just not answer a question. He's a witness. We're doing our oversight responsibilities. He took an oath. He was required. But unfortunately, the Republicans, including the Republican chairman, protected him from answering some of these difficult questions by just invoking this, I'd rather not, or I can't answer it, without invoking a real legal basis to do that. So, I was very disappointed. I think the principal lesson we learned from this hearing was that the independence of this Attorney General has been significantly undermined.